Hey Mike, thanks for joining Dale and I on Hard Rock Rewind. Obviously today, mate, we're going to be chatting to you about your upcoming release. You guys are releasing your 9th album, I think, on the 14th of November, Flowers. Just before we get into that, mate, I'd love to chat to you about your brief little tour with Bullet for My Valentine down here. Obviously, you guys were supporting them for their 20th anniversary of their debut album. Dude, what was that like? And also, how did you guys get the tap on the shoulder to support them?
Oh, it was amazing. It was such a blast. 16,000 tickets in 3 shows isn't something you don't get an offer for every day. But yeah, we were busy all summer here in the States, and they hit us up, and yeah, like you can't say no to that. And they were super delightful, such a professional camp, and yeah, it went without air.
Awesome, man.
That's so great.
And would you say that their audience was pretty much across your music, or did you feel like you had to go out there and sort of like prove yourselves to the audience, so to speak?
I kind of take that on every show, I think, to try and prove yourself. You know, I don't take for granted the fact that going to shows are expensive. You know, a ticket's expensive. Yeah. Having a beer or 2 beers is expensive, you know, and yeah, try to give people their money's worth. And you know, Bullet was like out with like Trivium not long ago, and when I think of that, like that's a little more of like not technical metal, but definitely more proper metal than like what we play. So yeah, it's I wouldn't say intimidating so much. I think we know what we're doing after all these years, but yeah, definitely need to prove yourself when you're playing to so many people who came out for their headliner, you know.
Awesome, man.
That's so good, man. And yeah, I mean, obviously Troy and I were kind of watching that at a distance, but just kind of cycling through to your new album. Obviously, some of the singles have been released, and obviously your new material. And I read somewhere that it's out streaming the vast majority of some of your back catalogue, right? And so you guys are playing the largest shows of your career at this point. I think For You was the first song that's actually gone on to make it to the Billboard mainstream charts, right? The rock airplay chart. How does that feel? How does all this feel? And what do you attribute the recent wave of success to?
I don't know. I don't mean to like sound too banal, but I think it's hard work paying off, you know. Like I'm very in tune with when the band hasn't been doing well, and when tour offers aren't good, or you know, ticket sales aren't great going out on tour, and you know, it sucks. But at the same time, like it's this is what I've always done. This is what I love doing, and I try to stay present when things are going as wonderfully as they're going right now. And yeah, I think, you know, it's hard work. We don't take this shit for granted, not one bit. And on the other side of the coin too, I'm just so grateful that the people are listening to the band and coming out to the shows and enjoying. You know, I can't imagine the song would be on the active rock charts if everyone hated it, or yeah, if they were streaming it out of because they didn't like it. I can't imagine it works that way. So
right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just grateful, and I will say we work hard.
Yeah. Yeah, man, and the hard work really shows, because you know you've come out with Flowers, and for my ears, it's a really pleasing sounding album. So let's talk production a little bit. It sounds so good, and these days across the board, there are so many bands out there in a similar vein. Everything starts to sound very, very similar. You know, so how do you guys? So, for example, the sound selection of certain things like, you know, guitar sounds, like, you know, VSTs, you know, the drums that you use, the sampling of the drums, the synth sounds that you guys might choose, and the vocal effects choices. So what do you think production-wise sets you guys apart from all the other bands that are doing similar things?
You know, I think that I don't want to pat myself on the back too much here, but I think that Jeremy and I work well together, and I think that him and I's voice is a pretty distinctive thing in the context of the genre. And I think it not just like a guitar voicing, but our actual voice kind of lends itself to be something specific to be the Dev Wars Prada. You know, like we've had turnover, we've had different guys play in the band, but the constant is that Jeremy and I's voices are the voices of the band. And I think that's an important part, but also everything that John does as a producer, is the guy that does all the programming and all the synths, guitars as well, and everything. We've worked with really amazing mixers over the years, guys mixing that have done a terrific job, and then the drums. The drums are the thing that we always go into a room and track, even while technology has changed and whatnot. And yeah, not to be long-winded, but I think those components are a big part of what makes our sound what it is, and just sort of the details or the like kind of practices of the Dev Wars Prada to record songs.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Just to echo Dale's comments there, mate. I had to listen to these tracks. Obviously, we got a bit of a listening through Tiana early for this interview, but I'd heard the tracks that you guys been dropping for the last month or a couple of weeks, and as Dale said, man, the album, it sounds amazing. Like, production is top notch. The songs are awesome. I've noticed when I've gone back through your back catalogue, you guys have definitely, like, I would say, not including this album, probably the last two, you sort of started to more, move into that sort of more synth, more sort of, you've always had the melodic vocals, but more sort of, I don't know, really big choruses, very, really catchy choruses. Was that like a conscious sort of decision to sort of move that way? Or was that just like generally how the band was sort of, each album you'd kind of, that was where you are when you were writing?
The choruses has definitely been a conscious decision. I've mentioned before, but like, yeah, like we just approached the choruses as too much of an afterthought, or the structure of the song, I think, even too much of an afterthought, versus the fact that now our songs are a bit more structured in terms of verse, chorus, and whatnot. But one of the big kind of key components of Flowers was that a number of the songs, the chorus was like the genesis of the song. And we kind of worked backward after having a chorus, rather than, okay, how's the song start? Okay, we're at what I guess will be a chorus. Let's here are the chords, and then later there's a lyric. Like, this time around, it was much more intentional about like, what's the heart of the song? And the answer is always the chorus for this album. And then specifically, what's the chorus say? What's the melody and whatnot?
Interesting, man. I'm a vocalist as well, but I'm curious from this standpoint. I'm seeing that there's obviously two vocalists in the band. You're more the screams. Jeremy's the melodic sort of stuff. How do you guys go about sort of writing together and sort of being able to say, hey, I want clean vocals there, or you might go, no, I think we should have some screams there, or how do you guys go about writing? I'm curious how, when there's two voices, it's not like it's just one person who's doing it all, because obviously you guys want to have your own spot in the song and sort of balance it out. How do you guys come to an agreement about what should be where?
It's really it sounds like I'm lying, because bands argue and whatnot, and bands usually have a sort of democratic system, but when it comes to Jeremy and I's voices, it's the most organic thing. Like, if like this record, Jeremy, John, and I sitting in a room and laying out vocals or writing choruses and whatnot, it's just boldly obvious what should be where. And it's kind of just always existed that way. I think the only time that it's ever much of a disagreement is like, should there be more Jeremy? And we had that back in the day, as far as having that more of that melodic component in the song. And you can clearly see now that the shift over the years is bringing in Jeremy's voice more and more and more. But yeah, in terms of actually being in the room or the studio and writing it out, it's just, I don't know. It's really easy, honestly. It's just easy and organic, as far as like, it's just very telling as far as like, that should be there, that should be there. There should not be that word screamed. That needs like that little bit of extra grit. I'm behind the whole chorus, with Jeremy. It just lays itself out very easily.
Awesome.
And is Jeremy, is he super pumped to be singing more? Or is Jeremy like, man, like, come on, give me a break. Like, this is too much. We need to go back to the old way. Like, is he super on board with it?
he definitely doesn't want to go back to the old way. We always joke that I want to play more guitar and sing less, and Jeremy wants to sing more and play less guitar.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Jeremy realizes that singing 90 minutes a night, the whole set is difficult on your body, and therefore difficult mentally. But he's a champ, he's very talkative and he has a hard time turning it off. But we were just actually on the Australia run after the first show, he was like, my voice hurts, and he actually shut up for a little while. So you have to give him his credit.
Good on him. Yeah, it's a good one, man. So obviously, Troy and I were also lucky enough to interview Alex from All Time Low just recently, actually, and just talking about their new album and their approach to their new album, their Everyone's Talking album, and their approach was, from what Alex was saying, was to approach it as a collective body of work. So obviously, there are individual songs, but they all tie in somehow. They're all connected. And me listening to Flowers, it appears really cohesive as well, and it seems like there are similar themes interwoven throughout the songs. Is that something that was a conscious thing that you guys did, or am I just reading too much into it?
It is conscious. Like it's obviously not a themed release, but if there was a theme that kind of umbrellas the album, it's coming to terms with happiness/unhappiness, or being happy with being unhappy kind of thing. I just think that kind of thread is what really weaves through. It wasn't so much as like, hey, like this reference pulls here and whatnot. There are some lines that kind of repeat like a theme, the trees through the forests, sky behind the rain and whatnot. But I think it just really, it's the most like dead on material I think Prada's ever done, besides like zombie songs that are just about the zombie apocalypse. But like these songs just really go like dead on. Like even a lot of the songs, when I'm asked about them, is like, how do you not know what the song is about? Like when I write songs, I very much dance around the subject and paint the subject rather than say what it is. However, what John, Jeremy, and I did with this was very much just say what it is. And I think that's the thread, or that's the kind of conceptual thing happening, is the fact that all the songs, or most the songs, are regarding that coming to terms of like trying to find contentment, or having everything that you want but still not feeling content, like that umbrella. That kind of, I don't know if that's just out there, but that's how I see it, if that answers the question at all.
Yeah, nice.
Awesome, man. Dude, we've got 4 minutes left. We'll try and do one more question each for us. Just quickly, I read, and you obviously just mentioned before, you guys toured South Africa. Dude, what was that like?
So that's coming up. We leave for that on Sunday. It is our first time, and I have no idea what it's like. Giuseppe, our drummer, has been, but this is our 6th continent, which is crazy.
Wow.
But I look forward to it. We did South America for the 3rd time a couple months ago. So funny enough, no Asia, but we'll have 5 continents within 6 months. So
amazing.
Busy.
Busy. Mike, obviously you guys work with a plethora of talented people, songwriters, mixers, sound engineers, producers, so forth. I'm just going to throw 2 names at you, and I just want to get your response and on these 2 guys, Colin Britton and Zach Savini. So obviously these are 2 prominent people in this space at the moment. From songwriting to mixing to producing. Just your thoughts on those prolific songwriters and producers, and what was it like working with those guys?
So Colin worked on Eyes, and I actually wasn't in that session, so I still haven't actually met him, but I've heard the funniest stories about him.
Yeah.
We have a buddy who knows Colin very well, and I I've heard some very funny stories from him as well about Colin, but John has worked with Colin a lot. They work together on a Day to Remember material as well. And yeah, I look forward to meeting him. He's very busy these days. In terms of Cervini, I mean, his mix is just, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I've listened to any number of test mixes over the years. When we were recording our record, The Act, we had like a kind of like a blind shootout for who's going to mix the album, and it was like an ABC, and they were so different, the different mixers. But yeah, in terms of like what Cervini does, like, I don't know, just anything I've heard and like his interaction with John, obviously, who's producing the album, is just like, I don't know how he does it. And I work with so many talented mixers that say the exact same thing. So yeah, it's sick having him, you know, put the final touches on.
Awesome, man. Mike, we're going to wrap it up, unfortunately. That's our time. Brother, thanks so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Guys, if you haven't heard this album, if you haven't heard the singles, jump on Spotify or whatever platform that you stream your music on. Flowers is going to be out on the 14th of November. The songs out so far are absolutely awesome, man. Mike, you've done a killer job on the album. All the best for upcoming tours, and hopefully we'll catch you at a show sometime. Cheers.
Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah,
mate.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
See you, dude.